Got a short video for you this time, working on the Beringer wheels. A lot of my videos moving forward now are going to be more short, I guess, in duration. With the tail feathers, you had an actual component that you could do from start to finish. And now those are done. Fuselage, there's just so much. You certainly couldn't do an entire video on the whole fuselage. So I'm doing things like tail cone, which is coming. I've got that episode coming. Fuselage cage preparation, seats. I'll be breaking those down into smaller, shorter videos now. So the first of a short video in this series of the RANS S-21 build is the Beringer wheels. My Beringers arrived today. These are their 6-inch wheels and their brakes. Of course, it comes with their own tapered axle. I've already got one mounted up to one of my tires. This is the Desser Aero Classic 850x6 Tundra tire, or also known as the 22-inch Tundra. They are tubeless, so on the Beringers, it's a split wheel, and there's an O-ring that fits in here. I'm going to take these apart, this one apart here, and I'll show the process. It's pretty simple. What's neat about the Beringers, this is different than any other wheel I've had before. I've run the Clevelands and the Groves. Groves are what I have on my 150. I've got the dual caliper 8-inch Groves. And what's different with Beringer is they do a fixed caliper with a floating disc. On all your AK Bush wheels or your Clevelands or your Groves, you've got a floating caliper and a fixed disc. So this is a little different. It doesn't really change much how it's assembled. It all kind of goes together the same way, it seems. So anyways, let's get this wheel separated, get the O-ring installed, and get the tire put on. Inside they have the O-ring. I thought it was 2 O-rings until I realized it's just one big one. And what I like to do on these tubeless wheels, my Groves are the same way. They've got an O-ring in between. And I just use some O-ring lubricant. Put a little bit on each surface. So this just helps seal it and then keeps it from getting pinched and unable to move if it needs to move a little bit in there. So that's good. Next, I'll bring the tire over. I remember on my old Dessers, I recall there was a pink dot or something up here to line up your valve stem. I don't necessarily see that in this one. I see a red dot and like a grayish green. I guess I'll line it up with the red. Doesn't really matter a whole lot, I suppose. Tire on. All the way through. It's got 8 bolts here. These look like, I don't know, M6s maybe, 6mm. I don't know if it calls for it in the manual, but I'm putting a small dab of blue Loctite on there. Very slight amount. gonna get him sort of torqued here. Final torque is 105 inch-pounds. There we go. Now I'm going to run a strap around the perimeter of the tire to kind of squeeze the bead up against the wheel. Try to get somewhat of a seal so I can put some air in them. Twist it. All right. Roughly centered on the tire. It's going to kind of put a kink in the end here, but I'm just going to go right to where I get that kink. I'm going to take it over to my air hose and get her filled up. All right. Got that compressed down. It should give me just enough seal, even if I might have to lean on it a little here. There we go. And take that off. I'll run it to about 20 pounds right now. When I'm actually running it in the plane, I'll probably run around 10 pounds. There we go. One Beringer wheel and Desser tire mounted up. Got them both mounted up, they look good. Let's see what they look like next to the Desser 27.5s. Same manufacturer, just a bigger tire on a bigger wheel. These are 8-inch wheels on my Cessna. Running the Grove G8s. It's a pretty big disc compared to these, but it's also a heavier airplane. So there you go. 22s against the 27s. I debated on running these, getting another set of these for the S-21, and I opted against it because, well, really, even these on my Cessna, I don't really need these. Where I go out here, I'm not going in like super hardcore areas, and the 22s would probably have done fine. And these are 25 to 30 pounds each, I believe, for the tire, the wheel, and the brake combo. Whereas these, I haven't weighed them, but it's going to be considerably less. And then also just the smaller size is going to be less drag. When I went from the 22s to the 27s on the Cessna, I lost about almost 4 miles an hour, between 3 and 4, best I could tell. And not only that, on the spring landing gear, so I've got a flat spring gear here, I noticed that when I'm flying with this extra weight of these, in any turbulence, they wobble out there quite a bit. So I just decided to keep it lightweight, keep it a little smaller, and go with the 22s. On the RANS, I think it's going to be more than sufficient for the areas that I'm flying in. That'll wrap it up for the Beringer wheel video. They're really great wheels. I'm familiar with the Groves and Clevelands, that's what I've run. And actually my Taylorcraft ran Shin wheels. That's a really strange wheel. But the Groves and Clevelands are what I was most familiar with. These are definitely different with the fixed caliper floating disc design. Interestingly, when I weighed the Beringers up against Cleveland 6x6s with the brakes, so with the calipers, the Beringers came in a little over, it was like 2 or 2.5 pounds per wheel lighter. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Makes sense though, because a lot of the mass is not in the disc anymore, because the disc is just a thin disc. There's not a whole assembly that bolts to the wheel. So there's a lot of weight savings there. That's probably where they're getting most of the weight savings. So it's real happy with the wheel. I wanted to get away from the Matcos. I'm sure they're fine. They just seem a little too light duty to me. I want more of a real wheel. I didn't weigh the Beringers against the Matcos. I didn't think about doing that, and I've already sold the Matcos. I put them up for sale as soon as I got the kit. Didn't think to weigh them. That'd have been an interesting comparison. Maybe anybody out there that's got the Matcos that come with the S-21 want to drop the weight in the comments. That'd be cool. But that's it. Thanks for watching.